So we close that and we right click and we look for symbology, which is there. Now I've already got it on the right hand side here pinned. And when we look here, those statistics that haven't been calculated actually exist, which is interesting. What are these statistics that it wants to calculate? I mean, this looks like statistics to me, but then what do I know? So the statistics are there, but yeah, ARC doesn't seem to think that they exist. So we need to calculate them properly for ARC. Why? Let's not worry about that kind of detail at the moment. It's just something we need to do. So now we need to do the calculate statistics tool we need to find. There are several ways of doing this. So according to the instructions here, we can close the symbology pane, right click on the RGB file in catalog, not the contents, and then select calculate statistics. If we go back here and we can go to catalog again, and we can right click, and then we should be able to see calculate statistics. Now that's the quick way of getting there, and what this is going to do is it's going to open up this geoprocessing window. Now, the geoprocessing window is used a lot, and if you don't have it, or if you're missing it, you can just go to view and click on this geoprocessing here, and then do the same thing with pinning it. But at the moment, actually, a quick way of doing this would just be to right click and then calculate statistics, and then you see this geoprocessing window opens and you can pin it on there. So now it's thinking, calculating, it's taken the right layer, and basically we don't really need to worry about any of these settings. It's going to do the job for us, so we can click on run. So run is down there. We start clicking on run, and let's hope that it all works, because this is the point where when you're running some of these geoprocessing tools, it just throws up an error and says something that you then have to interpret. But we can see we get the green light. We're all good to go, so we don't need to worry. And if we want, we can just click on that to get back to the basic geoprocessing window. Otherwise, you don't have to bother with that. But now we actually have statistics. So if we now right click here and we go down to properties and statistics, they haven't been calculated. So what we can do is, if we remove that, go back to catalog and then just add it again, and then hopefully now when we go to properties and click on statistics, there they are. You just needed a quick reminder. So the statistics have now been calculated, and these we will actually need later on. Click on OK. Whew, that was a job done. Some of you may have been asked to create pyramids. What are pyramids? This is a stack of resampled images with ever-increasing. So at the base you have the highest resolution, i.e. the most pixels covering that area of ground. And the next step up, you've got fewer pixels, so each pixel covers a larger piece of ground. We're still covering the same area. So actually it should be a stack looking like this, but there are fewer and fewer pixels. But because there are fewer pixels, if we then make each pixel on the computer the same size, it ends up being a pyramid. A little confusing perhaps, but basically what it means is that we can zoom in and out of the image very quickly. It doesn't have to resample all the time. So we've done that. Now we're going to skip a few things and we'll just go to importing the vectors. So now we're going to go to the raw data. We're going to go to this fastighetskartan, which is the property map, and we're going to just quickly look at that. We're going to examine what's in this folder, and we're going to play around with how the data are imported. Not much, but a little bit. So we click on catalog. Thank you. There we go. So fastighetskartan is there. And there's a lot of stuff in there. There are all these shape files. got .shp on the end. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, this is the shapefile. If you think that's a lot, well, how about we go to the Explorer, we do the same thing, we go to Get, go to Fastighetskartan, and here we can see that there are a lot more files. For each and every shapefile that we saw in catalog, that was, where is it? There are a bunch of other files as well associated with it. So the shape format, it's a vector format where SHP is the description of the geometry. That's the shape of it. But then we have the database, because this is a vector data, we have databases. And then we have other things like the coordinate system needs to be defined, the coding page, and all sorts of stuff that we really, technical details that maybe we really don't need to start with right now, but we can see that they're there. And ArcGIS knows that all of these, as long as they have the same name, this being the name, the first bit before the dot, and it says all of these with the same name, in this case AI Rix, underscore Rix, all of these belong together. They are all part of this same shape file or shape format. So we can go to catalog and we can select one of these. So let's just take this MA middle and we'll add that to the map. And that's really rather dull, just some green blobs. If we right click on there and open the attribute table, we can see that there's some data in there. This is our attribute table. This is what was in the DBF, the database file. But that's not terribly interesting. We can click on remove. Are any of the others more interesting? Well, let's have a look. How about my middle? Which obviously doesn't refer to my middle. It's an abbreviation in Swedish. So add to current map, and we get a map that covers the entire area. And we look at the attribute table, and we can see there's all sorts of things in here under this detailtyp, which is the type of detail that we have. We've got lots of different things going on there. We've got uppmark. As you can see, there's an in there, a non-standard letter, but that's fine. It's in the database. It's not going to cause a problem. We've got skogbar. If you're interested, what do these mean? You can look them up. I mean, you've got coniferous forest, skogbar, skog, bar, skog, coniferous forest. Lots of other different names in there, but everything's being shown in this same boring color. So we could try and style that ourselves, or we go back to catalog and let's see. If we click on documentation, we click on ArcGIS. Why it's under documentation, I'm not quite sure. And we can see that we've got these 4 files here. So 2 of them have the Swedish name. One's called Fastighetskartan underscore get Lyr, and the other one's called Fastighetskartan underscore hig Lyrx. Then we have property map, so in English, underscore hig Lyrx, property map underscore get Lyr. What's the difference? Well, obviously 2 of them are in Swedish, 2 of them are in English. The other difference is the Lyr is a layer, so-called layer file that was used by ArcMap, an older Arc system. We want the Lyrx, which is the more modern one. We can click on, we can open the Fastighetskartan Lyrx. So if we just add that to the current map, any second now. Any second now. There we go. We get a map with lots of fancy colors and symbol styles. What this has done is it's imported all of these shape files here and then styled them. So if we click here, we get a list of all the sublayers. So this is all of these shape files, and then we can expand one of those and look at the symbology for the objects in that file. Mark ytor down here. Here we have those colors that we will look. This is the my middle layer, and we can actually check that. If I right click on it, we can go to properties, and we can see shapefile, and then the source data is this here, and we can see that it's my middle. So that's that file being read in. And we can see that all the names here are in Swedish. Now, why did I do that? And I'm speaking English to you. Well, let's just quickly go to catalog. We can actually turn that off for now. Go to catalog eventually. And then we can click on this property map, HIG Lyrx. Right click on that and add to current map. So now it comes in as the property map. And when we open this up, we get translations. But if we go down to this land types all, if we right click on it, click on properties, it's still referencing the same source data. So all that's happened is, if we right click on this and look at the attribute table, we can still say everything's in Swedish here. And in fact, these names are not the names that you saw in the Swedish version of it, but it's simply the symbology controlling this. We're using different labels here for the different types. So it finds all the objects that are called vatten and then colors them blue and then calls them water. Simple. That's how this works. You can use the Swedish or the English, whichever you prefer. You can then remove that if you don't want it. It's entirely up to you which you want to use. So what more do we have left to do? Right, so we've pretty much done that. You can read the rest of these instructions, read them. There is something you need to do here. And then we can move on to this last part. And I think I'll make a pause there and do this next part in the next video.